What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. By singing dog. By goal.
I pronounce you.
By wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to my Wednesday edition of Sin's Check Learner. I'm apparently running about 2 minutes behind. I don't know why. I was having some trouble dialing in. As those of you listening in, you already know that Doug is a fan favorite, and of course, he's also a returning guest. So I'm not going to have him hold on any longer. Let's get Doug on the line and start chatting with him. Hey, Doug Briney's back.
Hey, Cindy, how are you?
I'm so excited. I was like looking at the time and I'm thinking, why can't I get I was trying to call into my show and I actually saw your number come up and I'm like, oh no, we've always got to wait for like 2 minutes. So I'm sorry about that. You're back. Yay. I'm excited.
I am.
I have a lot to talk about.
I'm here.
You're not really here, but you're like actually here. And I'm so excited because we have so much to talk about, and we're going to cover a few things that some of the people who are new to my audience that didn't know about you before. So we'll cover some of the old stuff, we'll cover some of the new stuff, all that good stuff. But first, I want you just to be quiet and listen to what I have to say about you for a minute, and then I'll ask my first question. How's that?
That sounds fine.
Okay. Well, for those that are listening to, yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but you do know asking me to be quiet is kind of a weird thing. I'm never quiet.
Yeah, I know, and I'm not either, but if we both keep talking, this will never happen, and we'll just keep talking. So I won't make you be quiet for long, though, really, honestly. I promise. I just want to tell them about you, and they're complimentary. Okay.
All right. Go ahead.
So, to those that are not or have not been used to listening to us before or finding out about Doug Briney for the first time, he's most definitely a delight to host, as he's a country quality, to me, he's a country quality musician. Born with the soul of a sermonizer, he is able to adapt to his stage just as easily as his own home, or his own hometown for that matter. His audiences recollect a relatability to his lyrics and to his look. Doug has been a hero, a heralder of hymns, and also a humble husband. He has slowly but surely found his calling, sending very clear messages through his songs. I consider his presence on my show to be a revisit of a family friend. So, starting on that caveat, maybe you could tell us first off, this is a very important question, and I'm not talking right today. God, I can hear myself fumbling. All right, I'm going to slow down here. We're going to start with the most obvious. Very recently, as I understand that, your father had fallen under the weather due to some heart complications. So let's start there a little bit. First of all, provide us a status on how he's doing since the last time that occurred.
He's doing great. He woke up that morning, and he was having a lot of pain in his right side and radiating down his arm and into his back. And he kind of put it off. He ate breakfast, and it just wasn't getting any better. And so he decided he took himself to the hospital. And they ran tests on him all. They ran tests on him all day long. I mean, they did everything, but they said, we don't believe that it's a heart attack. We want to keep you and thank you for coming in. We're going to do all these tests, and they ran tests on him all day long. And at the end of the day, they said, Mr. Briney, your heart is in absolute fantastic shape. You're good to go. We don't know what was causing the pain there, but there's no problems at all with your heart, and that we can find at all. He passed the stress test, everything else. So they sent him home, and they said they might do some more tests, maybe some digestive tract stuff, and a test on some of the lungs. They think that it might be causing a little bit of pain for him there, but I talked to him the other day, and he hasn't had anything bad since then. He just woke up with that morning, and so it may have been a digestive tract thing, but at 84 years old, or coming up to 84, he was pretty concerned, but he's doing great. So thank you for asking.
Oh, of course. You know what? I don't think that people realize just because you stand up on a stage and you have a guitar and you're singing, you're some omniscient presence, which means you don't have a personal life or things that are close to your heart, essentially. So I think that's important. And that's going to lead to what I'm going to ask now, because to some of us that, are first listening in now, maybe explain to everybody your early as well as eventual impact that your father has played in terms of both your preaching and your performances.
Oh, both my parents played a huge role in my life. My dad is just kind of a rock for me. Him and I were very close when I was growing up. I mean, we did a lot of things together. We used to race sailboats together. Spent a lot of time doing that, and spent a lot of time in the garage doing woodworking projects together and building things. From a musical standpoint, my dad cannot carry a tune if you put it on the radio. He has a hard time. That's not his gift, but he is a music lover. He loves music. The first albums that I can remember ever listening to were his old Eddie Arnold albums and Cab Calloway and some of these older artists that have been around for a while. And I used to steal his albums and be very careful with them because I knew if I scratched them, I'd be dead. But it was. So, the influences are there, and still to this day we have a great relationship, and I'm hoping to be in California for his 84th birthday, late August. We're trying to book some shows out in California right now, and get those on the calendar so that I can get out there and spend a little time with him.
I was going to mention that too, actually, now that you've made the move from one area to the other. Has he been able to get out to you, to see you there, where you are now in Tennessee?
He has not made it to Tennessee yet. He is planning to do now understand, coming up at 84 years old, he's planning to do a cross-country trip this summer. He's planning to drive here, stop along the way in Arizona, Utah, visit some friends down in Texas, up here to Tennessee, go up to Missouri. My brother lives in Missouri, so he's going to go visit him. Then he's got some friends that live in Montana, and then not Montana, Wyoming. And then he's going to go home. So he's planning to be out on the road, driving around by himself there for a while. And he doesn't let anything slow him down. He just keeps going. And he enjoys life, and he enjoys doing things. And so he's very active. I get that from him. I don't like to sit still. I have a hard time sitting still for any length of a time. It's funny, when I sit still, I'm finding that I have the same disease that he has. When I sit still, my eyes close, and I just fall asleep because I'm always so tired. But when he sits still, he just, he picks the chair, and you're visiting with him, and if there's a lull in the conversation for a few minutes, you look over, and he's just, he's sound asleep over there. And I'm finding I can do the same thing now. I'm getting to the point where, I can sit down in the chair and just close my eyes for a minute, and the next thing I know, it's like, I got to get going, get moving. But he's doing very well, and he is planning to be here this summer.
Wonderful. That sounds terrific. Yeah, I was curious about that. In fact, that's kind of the next thing I wanted to mention, that there's a few things that have obviously altered since Doug's last visit. And, of course, first and foremost, your residence, meaning that you were in Alaska and obviously now moved to Tennessee, which is a big leap, of course. So it prompted me to ask you, what was the predominant drive behind making such a big decision, such a big relocation?
I can't say that there was any one thing. There was a lot of things that influenced that decision. There was a lot of things, but I guess at the root of it was knowing that I had done what I could musically in Alaska, and in order to take the music to the next level and to really be out on the road and tour and to get places to do that, I needed to be where the rest of the world was a little more accessible. I think the last time that we had talked, I had just finished up a motorcycle tour, and I had rode from Alaska down to California and back, and it was 4 days just to get out of Alaska back into the lower 48, back into United States soil. It was 4 days crossing Canada, and so to get out and to do some touring was very expensive and very, very time consuming. Here, I've already been to Indiana, Kentucky, Iowa, Illinois, Texas, Louisiana, let's see, where else? Arkansas and Oklahoma.
Okay.
So, there's just, and I've got dates coming up again in Missouri, and I've got dates coming up in Georgia.
Right.
And so it's just so much easier to get out and to play and to connect with the fans from here. And it made sense that if I was going to move to the lower 48 to pursue music, I needed to be in Nashville. It didn't make sense to make that move and not be where country music and the heart of country music was at.
Of course, makes perfect sense, obviously. I felt that. Now, I know, obviously, like you have started to mention, I've noticed in the past few months, you've gone to Louisiana, you've ventured to Arkansas, you've ventured to Texas, all of which to do various different performances. So I want to ask, is it harder to acclimate going state-to-state travel for gigs? Because I know before, when you were in Alaska, it seemed to me as the bulk or part and parcel of what you did was always usually confined to close enough places in Alaska. This is literally state to state to state.
Yeah, no, it's not hard at all. I drove. Now I'm trying to think. One of the things I did in Alaska, I did a concert up in Delta Junction. It was for a New Year's thing. I drove up to Delta Junction in the middle of winter time. It took us about 8 hours to drive there. From Anchorage. My wife actually went with me that evening. We were going to stay 2 nights up there and did a concert both nights up at this lodge. And it was a very, Black Rapids Lodge. It was fantastic. But, it took us 8 hours to drive there. And we were still in Alaska. I mean, we were still, here I can drive 8 hours. It took me 10 and a half hours to drive, or it took me right at 10 hours to get all the way down to Shreveport, Louisiana. So 8 hours drive, I can be, I can make I'll cover a lot of miles. And so to me, the driving is very relaxing. It's not, I get on the phone and I'm talking with folks the whole way. I got the Bluetooth headset in and I talk with folks and catch up and get a lot of stuff. I actually get more done when I'm driving than any other time because I'm able to concentrate on that and just relax and enjoy the drive. So for me, no, I enjoy it. I enjoy going state to state. I have to tell you a funny story about that, though. The first time I went up to Kentucky and did a concert up in Indiana, not Kentucky, Indiana. I was driving up there and I thought I had plenty of time. I thought I had like 3 hours time to get there and I'm driving up there, and all of a sudden I look at I look at the clock on the dash, and it's 3:30, and I looked at my phone, and it was 4:30. I didn't realize that I had crossed into Eastern time zone going up to Indiana. I hadn't thought about it, so I lost an hour, and I got a little panicky there. So now I have to pay a little closer attention to time zones as I travel.
I figured that. And don't let Doug fool you, by the way, because I thought I saw the other day a comment where he said, I don't mind driving in snow. It's the other people that don't know how to drive in it that's the problem. I saw you make a comment about that, and I thought, what's the interest in being on the road? Could you imagine being on the road with Doug for like a day or two? I think we should take a camera and follow you like everywhere you go and see what really happens behind the scenes of the country guy with this, big hat on and the big guitar on. I think that would be way cool. But, I have to ask this question because, of course, you're in Tennessee, so you're in the magic land where most of the magic happens musically. So is it intimidating at all? Because as I understand it, other people have said, there's such a competitive spirit there, and there's so many people, and you're all kind of vouching for the same sort of success. Was that a huge shift for you? Because, in Alaska, I'm assuming you don't have 50,000 other musicians standing there in the same sort of setup there.
There's some differences, but I have to tell you, the musicians in Alaska I found to be much more competitive as far as secretive. I'm going to play here. They don't want to give you any contacts. They don't want to collaborate on any projects. They're very closed and very guarded. Here, I have found the musicians just to be extremely open. Hey, Leah, let's get together. Let's jam. Let's do this. It's very... oh, I just played over here. That's such a great venue. Y'all give them a call. They'd love your music, you know. And it's very open from that standpoint. It's very open from that standpoint. The musicians are not the ones who are competitive. It's the venues here that really take advantage of that. In Alaska, if I played a venue for a venue, it was nothing. It was nothing to as a price to play that venue. It was nothing to make $300 from the venue and sell merchandise. You know, just getting started. That was kind of a standard fare. Here, there's so many musicians. The venues don't pay the musicians. They don't have to pay them. It's like, you don't want to play for free? That's okay. We've got 100 other people that will. So that part of the business here is very competitive and is very, very difficult. But that's separate from your first question. Your first question on this was, do I find it intimidating? And I have to tell you, it is overwhelmingly intimidating at times. I mean, it really is. You're sitting there. You go to a venue and you're listening to the performers in front of you, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, these guys are great. Oh, they're phenomenal. And then you get up there, you know, I get up there and it's like, hey, how you doing? You know, and you do feel not inadequate, but you feel, it's like, wow, it's just such a different world. And intimidated, maybe not the right word, but inadequate at times. You just feel like, wow, these guys are awesome. Why am I not hearing them on the radio all the time? And you know, the only consolation in that, to me, is honestly when you finish up or you start going and you see the people that you were just couldn't believe how good they were. You see them, just their jaws drop, and they're enjoying what you're doing as well. That's the consolation, and that's the you know, it's just such a boost to morale, and you know, you've got them hanging on what you're doing, and it's really a boost of confidence. But there again, it comes down to that relationship between the musicians. I found the musicians here to be extremely, extremely supportive. And really helpful to one another, which is so different than what I was used to in Alaska.
Oh, I imagine so, definitely. So it's kind of like a small fish going into this large pond and just trying to acclimate a little bit, I would think, for a while, just until you get your feet wet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. You know, the very first, well, I guess it wasn't the first gig. One of the first gigs that I had here, I got invited to, I did some competition and did some things, and I got invited to compete for a showcase. I got invited to compete for the showcase. Well, I competed for the showcase, and I got into the top 8. And so we were at Dan McGinnis, and we performed there. The very first thing was Nashville Universe, and we're competing there, and some of the musicians there were just, I mean, absolutely unreal. And I was just like, wow, that was my first real taste of, oh my gosh, these guys are just phenomenal. And then the songwriting and that type of thing. And but you know, that first group of people that I met at that competition, we have become really good friends. I do some songwriting with all of them. Caitlin Lowe is one of those people that was in that group, and Caitlin and I have become really good friends. We shared. She sang at my CD release party back in November. We've done several gigs together, and Joseph Page and with Platypus 9, we've become very good friends. So there's all these people that have competed there. We've become really good friends and sing together, perform together, and kind of follow each other around and encourage each other on Facebook and text messages and phone calls.
Sure.
And you know, it's so different in that regard from Alaska. It's just a completely different experience.
Sure, of course. And obviously, over time, it's just like with anything else. You started off being in your hometown, and now you're coming to something new. And now you're garnishing popularity everywhere. I mean, I would find it hard to believe that they wouldn't love you. But my guess is, because now is the area you're in isolated, or is that, how close is that to, like, Nashville?
I missed that question. Say that again.
Oh, that's okay. I'm trying to figure out now, are you relatively close to Nashville itself because you're not within the city, correct? Or where exactly do you reside in comparison to that?
We're just about 10, 15 minutes north of Nashville. We are actually in what they call Metro. We are in the Metro, Davidson County part of Nashville. I actually live in Old Hickory. I actually live in Old Hickory, which is only about 15 minutes north. It actually takes me almost longer to get to the highway than it does once I'm on the highway to get into Nashville. I'm about if you go towards the 65, I'm about 6 miles. If you go towards the 40 on the other direction, I'm about 5.5 miles away from the highway. And of course, it's all surface street to get there, so that's slow. Once I get on the highway, it's just a quick trip right into Nashville either side. So it's really, it's a nice location.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I've got friends that have moved they've gone from my state to going to your state, and in particular right around Nashville, so that's why I'm curious to ask, because they like to hook up with fellow musicians, and they're all musicians, so I'll have to send all my musician friends to come see you then, because I know they're out and about trying to play themselves, as a matter of fact, so it works out real nicely. I want to talk about, there's one specific soul-satisfying partnership, and I know that obviously you've solidified this for a while now, and that's, of course, with the Bright Star International. And further, I can attest that I know that you're set to start a benefit to aid the National Parkinson's Foundation. So I'd like you to summarize for our audience, some might not know, of course, the reason behind your love for military causes, as well as was there a personal preference towards taking support for Parkinson's disease?
Yes, and yes, no problem. My military, love for the military is long and very deep-seated. In my family, we go all the way back to the Revolutionary War of this country, and had a relative that fought in that Revolutionary War, and there's actually a statue that's erected to him there in Boston, acknowledging his service, and he actually gave his life there to save the people that he was commanding. You come to World War II, all of the uncles on my dad's side served in World War II. My dad served during the Korea War. My dad had a great duty station. He was in the Air Force, and he got in the Korea War. They sent him to Bermuda, so he loved his time in the service, and even during the wartime, he thought it was great. My son currently serves in the United States Air Force. I have several cousins who have served. On my mom's side, my grandfather served in World War II, a little place called Attu Island out on the Aleutian chain, and it was the only place ever in United States history where enemy forces have taken U.S. soil and held it for length of time. The Japanese held it for 2 years. Before we regained that land. So military is very near and dear to my heart. I've got a lot of friends who have served, and I have a huge soft spot for the men and women who serve, and I don't think we can do enough for them. The Parkinson's Foundation, I work right now a daytime job, and actually it's a very early morning and daytime job. I manage a coffee shop here in Old Hickory, one of our customers, Howie Garut, is a good friend of mine, and Howie has Parkinson's. He actually has Parkinson's, and as a result of that, he is organizing this benefit for Parkinson's. And with him organizing that, and me being a good friend of him, and he's been very supportive of my music. He's come out to the concerts. He always brings his camera out and films me and does different things, and it's just been a great supporter of my music, and we've become pretty good friends there. And as a result, when I found out that he was doing this benefit to benefit that, and knowing that he has the disease, and I asked him, Howard, what can I do to help? What can I do to help you with that? So I got lined up as one of the performers. I've helped them in some of the organization of this. They met at the coffee shop the other day, getting some things organized, and it's going to be a great event. And that's how I got involved in that. I just have a good friend that has it, and is I think is doing a tremendous job, not just for himself, but for the National Parkinson's Foundation. And I think it's a, there again, it's one of those causes that's a worthwhile cause, and I'm happy to do what I can to help.
Okay, and do we happen to have any details yet as far as a date or location for it yet?
Yes, April. So you put me on the spot. Sorry, I believe it's That's okay. I believe it's April 29. I tell you what, I have it up on my webpage, DougBriney.com. The event name is called Shaken Not Stirred. Shaken Not Stirred is the event. And if you know anything about Parkinson's, there's a lot of shaking going on there.
Right,
but it's called Shaken Not Stirred. It's going to be held at the Holder Family Fun Center in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And I believe that date is April, it might be April 26th. I will find out right now while we're talking there, but I believe that's April 26th. But all of the details are up on they are all up on my webpage here.
Okay, gotcha. All right, and then I just figured since you were online now and that everybody was listening, that this way we could just kind of give them a heads up. So sorry, I didn't mean to stop you there.
It would be great, except for you caught me sleeping on the job there. I should have had that ready for you, but I forgot that.
That's okay.
Yeah, there we go.
People do that sometimes. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this because, and this is just my personal belief to those that either tune in regularly, you hear this all the time. And I have said this publicly before, that my opinion is that a celebrity is one who's defined by his successes, both personally and professionally. And Doug, of course, falls in that guideline so very nicely. So, to those of you that are a new fan, you lack knowledge of a more private Doug. So I'm about to tell you about him, just a little bit about the personal side of things, because, yes, he has a personal side to him. First and foremost, before we get into your personal taste, I should tell you this because I recently found this out. Doug apparently went to a recent audition for the show The Voice, which you've all heard of before, and I couldn't believe this, but both yourself, as well as my very dear friend who actually lives in Nashville, Rich DeQuisto, both of you have appeared on the very highly successful Nashville show. Oh, my God.
Yes.
What's that?
Yeah.
Holy man. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh, my God, Doug Briney was on that show, too. And I'm looking, and I'm thinking, did I miss it? Now I'm going to have to go back because I have it on demand. I'll have to go back and, look to find both of you guys because you both have been extras on the show. And, of course, as I mentioned, The Voice. So I have a question about that first. Can you explain to us maybe about, for each experience, each of those, in terms of the challenges and, again, the competition factor involved because Nashville's largely popular, so is The Voice. What's that experience like? What sorts of things came about with that in terms of especially the challenges involved with beating out everyone else?
For the television program Nashville, it's serving as an extra. It's just a lot of fun. First of all, it's a long day. I've actually served as an extra on 2 different episodes. And you register in for it. You register in through the talent agency there. They email you and call you up and say, hey, we're interested. This is the part that we need. We think you'd be good for that. Wear this type of clothing and bring a change of clothing that's different, just in case we don't like what you're doing. So that I haven't noticed a lot of competition in that. There's and had opportunities to do a couple more that I've had to pass up because of work or because I was in Texas. The last time that they wanted me to serve as an extra, but I was in Texas doing a concert there, so I wasn't able to. It's just a fun thing to do, and it is kind of fun. I'm watching the episodes and I freeze frame it. I freeze the DVR whenever I see myself and get a picture of it and post it on Facebook and everything else. But it's a lot of fun. The Voice is a different thing. The Voice is a completely different experience. You register to audition for The Voice. You're assigned a time to show up, and you show up at this place. And usually, I try to show up at least an hour and a half, 2 hours early. And you're there with literally thousands of other people. who all have the same dream. You're in a stadium or you're in a large facility, and they they usher you in, put you in groups of 10, divide those thousands of people up into groups of 10, and they put you in a room with one of the producers. And the producer just calls you up one at a time and says, let me hear your name. What's your name? Where are you from? What song are you going to sing? And you give that information to them as quick as you can because they really don't want to, they're literally trying to get through thousands of people in a day. So it's your name, what song you're going to sing, and where you're from. Okay, go ahead. And you get to sing one verse and one chorus of a song. So or he or she may even raise their hand and say, that's enough. I've seen that happen as well, where they just said, that's enough. And you sing the song, you do your very best that you can. You've got just that verse and chorus to impress them. And you do your very best, and they say, thank you very much. You sit down, and they go through the whole room of 10, and at the end of that, they say, okay, this season is I'm summarizing basically how they say it. They say, this season is very competitive. The bar has been raised very high. Some great talent in here, but I don't think I'm going to issue any callbacks today from this group. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Be on your way out. And that's it. You don't get to ask them any questions or anything. Or they may say, okay, we thank you very much. Same type of speech, and they'll say, but everyone is dismissed except for so. I'd like to see you for just a moment afterwards. And they may issue that person a call back, or they may ask them to do another verse of a different song to hear them, and then they'll issue a call back for that person. I haven't made it there yet. I know a lot of extremely talented people that were all given a pass and not called back at all. And so it's part of it is too that they are looking for something specific. They can say that they're not all that they want to, but they're looking. The producers are looking for something very specific in that. I remember this was my third time auditioning for The Voice, and the second time that I auditioned, when I finished, there wasn't everyone in the room was just I don't know how to say it, just dumbstruck. Just the jaws were open. And wow, you could hear, I thought it went great, and everyone in the room just was like, this dude's got it. And when the guy says, we're going to pass on everybody, there was an audible gasp in the room. It was just like, they're kidding. And every contestant in there turned their eyes to me and just like, I don't get it. And it just, I'm not saying I should have had it or shouldn't have had it. It was just very interesting to me that everyone else in the room thought I should have had it, but whatever it was, I wasn't what the producer was looking for. So, it's one of those things. It's such an instant. If you're on there, it's an instant recognition, an instant popularity. It's an instant boost to your career, and you can become famous overnight with that. But I tell folks, and my manager and I have talked about it a number of times, I'm in this for the long haul. I'm not here. If it could happen overnight for me, fantastic. I wouldn't turn that down. But I'm in this for the long haul. I don't intend to give up because I can't make it instantly overnight. I love performing. I love singing. I love that interaction. And, I love improving what I'm doing as an artist and trying to be better all the time. And so I'm in it for the long haul, and it doesn't discourage me. I've come to kind of like, wow, okay. And again, I have one of the good friends that I met, again, going back to that very first night that I performed in Nashville at Dan McInnes, a good friend, Michael Moore. He's just phenomenal. He's just phenomenal. And he was actually flown. He was done by private invite to an audition in California. He flew all the way to California on a private invite to audition for them, and he auditioned for them. They liked him. They liked him, but then they said, you know what, we're going to pass. And I mean, if anybody, even after a private audition and flying it there and everything else, it was shocking to me. But he just wasn't what they were looking for at that particular time.
Wow, look at that.
So it's a very,
I've heard that before.
It's a very different experience. Yeah, it's a very different experience. And again, it's like everything else in this business. You cannot take it personally. It's a no, but it doesn't. It's not an attack on you personally. It's not saying that they don't like you. It's just, it's the time isn't right. You are not what they're looking for at that particular moment. And that's it. You can't take it personally.
And that's a good attitude to have, actually, because I know, rejection in all forms, even I as a writer, of course, nobody likes to hear the word no, but obviously if you took that to heart all the time, you'd obviously give up on that stuff. So kudos to you as far as that goes. And tell the people which episodes of Nashville, because I'm going to go back and find them now, because I got to watch Rich anyway. So which episodes are you on?
The first one the first one was 203, and I'm visible for a nanosecond. It's just like the only way I spotted myself in that episode is because I knew exactly where I was standing, and you can just see, you barely make out my hat. But the one that you can see my face in a couple different times, and you can see me pretty good, is episode 213. Episode 213, and that's the one where Julia Barnes is at the Ryman Auditorium, and she kind of makes everybody mad at the Ryman Auditorium there, or everybody is mad at her because of what she supposedly had said, and they took out of context. But that's the episode. The number is 213.
I gotcha. Okay, we'll have to go back and take a look at that. That's awesome. Okay, now we're going to flip over to the other side, as I mentioned or started to say, with the personal side of things. So let me tell you folks a few things about him from what I've noticed. I can tell you that he enjoys entertainment such as CSI New York, the comedic style of Tim Conway, the movies The Bounty Hunter and The Count of Monte Cristo, which I found to be rather unusual because every time I look at you, I can't help it, but I think about sermonizing, etc., and I'm like, okay, I don't understand why he likes this, but okay. He also carries a further fondness to Harleys for Heroes. Now, obviously, of course, I have a whole other radio show that involves Harleys and Harley individuals who do things for charity. Have you finally become a writer, or do you have an association at all to Harleys for Heroes, or know anything about them?
I know quite a bit about them, but I'm not affiliated with them other than liking them up through Facebook. But there again, I've ridden motorcycles my entire adult life. I've ridden motorcycle for a long time. Like I said, I did the motorcycle tour from Alaska to California, 7,622 miles I did in 11 days of riding. My average day was 14 hours a day on a bike. So I've done a lot of riding. I love riding. It's one of the things that I sold my motorcycle before we moved down here to Nashville, and I'm really, really wishing that I had it back. For a number of different reasons. It's beautiful to ride here. It gets great gas mileage, but right now I guess I don't have a bike. But I've got a friend who has a couple of them, and he said if I needed to ride at some point that I could probably borrow one of his bikes. So I'm going to be doing that at least once or twice this summer at least.
I betcha. I imagine so. Now, can you just tell us maybe a little bit about on the recreational side of things, because obviously you're in Old Hickory now, which again is climate change and socially changed from being in Alaska. So what have you found that occupies your days? Because obviously besides playing and having your job and your wife and your children, and of course the twins, by the way, I didn't want to forget that because the twins are wrestlers and they just had an accolade recently too, didn't they?
That's it. Honest to goodness, you have just summarized my life. I wake up at about 4:30 every morning. I wake up about 4:30 every morning. I go to work. I open up the shop. I'm there at 5:30 to do the baking, get prep work done. I open the shop doors at 6 o'clock. I get off usually at about 2:30 or 3 o'clock. I get home. I run around. I've been running around with the boys. Both of my boys are wrestlers. And so we have wrestling practice, different school events, run around with them, or if I'm not with them, then I'm doing church-related things, because although I'm not pastoring down here, I am plugged into a church and helping out.
Oh, okay.
When I finish that up, I am usually out playing music. And I get home oftentimes, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and, an early night would be 10:30 or 11. And I get home and go to bed and start all over again. So the honest to goodness thing on the recreational side of it, I haven't done anything yet. I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to being able to do a few things, but right now it's just, it really is all about, for me, it's all about music, and working and becoming the best that I can be at that, and taking every opportunity to play that I possibly can, and making new friends and meeting folks and building those connections, because that's really what it's about here.
Okay. Now, switching back over again to Doug, the singer and entertainer, of course. On the past programs, I know that I have spoken of your fountain of fame, as I call it, and proudly we have some new news to speak of. I know previously you won an Independent City Music Association Award, which is in 2013, as well as a nomination again this year for male vocalist, and that was, of course, a different entity, National Universal Awards. I wanted to speak to that a little bit. Now, I understand that you had also performed at the award ceremony, that's National Universal Awards. Now, how does an awards event performance differ from the normal night's gig? Because most of us aren't privy to going to an award show such as that, so how does it differ?
For me, going back to one of your earlier questions, that intimidation factor, there was also, it was also very different. The award show, we had a house band, all professional musicians, just phenomenal musicians, but we didn't have time to rehearse the song ahead of the award show. So I get up on stage. Now, I had played with almost all of the musicians up there before. I had already played with them. There was no question in their ability at all. But it was a little nerve-wracking not having the rehearsal time ahead of time. To even know, are they going to play it exactly the way it was, or is there going to be a beat different, or, not a beat, but, something different? Am I going to miss a cue because I don't hear it right, or something like that? So there was that kind of pressure, that kind of thing at this particular award show. And I didn't need to worry about any of that. They say 99% of the stuff that you worry about never comes true, or whatever that number is. It definitely did not come true. These guys were just, they were on it. So it was, once the guys started with the drums and fiddle come in and everything else, it was just, yeah, I got this. I just became very much at ease and enjoyed the performance. So that was one of the things that would be different is not having a rehearsal time, because I really work towards rehearsal times. I like having, I like being the best that I can be, and you can't do that without rehearsal. So that was a little different. Cool. The other aspect that was different there was just the incredible talent that was on stage. We're talking the best that National Universe had to offer is who was performing. You're performing with the absolute best, and it's humbling. It's exciting. It's also one of those things where you talked about that intimidation factor. It's like, wow, I've got to bring my A game. I've got to be the very best Doug Briney that I can possibly be. So there's that a little bit different. The other part of it was just the venue was beyond capacity. It was packed to the hilt.
Sure. Of course.
And that was I don't want to say different, but it was probably one of the larger indoor crowded venues that I've been at for quite a while. For a long time. And being that all those people, you had industry professionals there. Warner, the head of Warner was there. The head of the CMAs was there. The head of Sony Records was there. One of the, well, not the head, but one of the executives from Sony Records was there. Sony label was there. You have a lot of industry professionals that were there. That puts an added pressure on them too, because you're hoping that someone really likes what you're doing. So it was a lot of pressure. There was just a lot. To me, I felt a lot of pressure that I don't normally feel. I guess that was the biggest difference. I don't normally feel pressured like that. I enjoy the performances. That's not to say I didn't enjoy this one, but I just felt I felt a lot of pressure beforehand. Once I got into the performance, it was, I enjoyed it. But I don't normally get nervous before I perform. That's something kind of weird about me. I guess I don't get nervous beforehand. And at this one, I was nervous. I had butterflies. I mean, actually, I don't think they were butterflies. I think they were, blue jays or something jumping around in there. I was nervous. And I don't. That's not normal for me. So from that standpoint, that would be what was different.
Okay, gotcha. And of course, just so you folks know, he happened to meet friends of my show as well, which of course Matt Williams has been on the show and Amy Rose has been on the show. So you got to Matt Williams before I did, because I'm not meeting him until May. Yes, I'm meeting him in May in Canada, so I'm very excited. And he's darling, and so is Amy Rose. She's amazing. Oh, you guys are also amazing. Yeah, absolutely lovely. Now I know I'm not supposed to ask this question, but since it's my show, I always ask that stuff because people don't. I guess. I have to ask the question because you know how you watch these award shows and then people are all like, "Oh, I'm just so happy to be nominated." So in this case, were you disappointed? I mean, were you kind of like setting yourself up and thinking, "Oh yeah, I really want to win this," and you didn't win and you got all disappointed? Does that happen for you, or you just kind of take it in stride?
Yes and yes. Yes and
oh,
yes.
okay.
I'd be absolutely lying to you if I didn't say I wasn't disappointed that I hadn't won. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that because I was disappointed that I didn't win. You work very hard. Once the nominations come in and you know that you make that top five, you made the top five in that. You want to win, yes. And I think anyone who says that they don't want to win is lying. That's just, I'm not going to call them a liar, but I think that they're lying at that point. But in the same token, was I disappointed? Disappointed is not the right word because I wanted to win, but it really was just it was a huge honor and a huge milestone to get to where I got. I've been in Nashville since August. I've been in Nashville since August, and I've been to got to be involved in one major competition, and then to be in the award show and to make the top five and among the people that are here. Cindy, it is a huge honor, and so I can't say it was disappointing, but yeah, it's disappointing. I can't explain it more than that. I wasn't crushed. Let's put it that way. I was not crushed by it by any means. But to say that I wasn't a little disappointed would be a lie. I worked really hard to try and get there, and I worked very hard to try and get people to vote so that I could win. That's the reality.
Right. It makes perfect sense to me. And a lot of times people don't want to hit that. Like even with big ones and you watch them on television, they all look all happy and all this jazz and such. And it's just like, yeah, I can just imagine. I would just be furious myself. At a certain age, you just don't care as much anymore. But still, it's kind of like you still wanted to win, so that's, But it was a nice experience for you, obviously. And I've seen the pictures and looking at that. So, that's something.
It was a phenomenal experience, and I would like to believe that if the cameras were on me, that you would still have seen me smiling, because I was still honored. I was still very happy to get where I was at. But to say that there wasn't an edge of disappointment after working so hard to get things done and really kind of hoping, But again, the people that I was up against in that category, the people that I consider friends, I'm friends with all the guys that were in that category. Gibson Cage, oh my gosh, Gibson Cage. He won Entertainer of the Year. He is a phenomenal vocalist. Michael Moore, I've already told you about him. He just phenomenal vocalist. Travis Wayne ended up winning. Travis Wayne is a great guy and a great vocalist and songwriter. And to be with those guys, to be in the same category with those guys and to make it where they were at, I can't say that I was, I cannot say that I was sad that I didn't win. I wasn't saddened that I didn't win at all. I was very honored, and it really was an honor to be nominated. And to get to that point was huge. Would I have liked to win? Absolutely. Anybody that tells you they didn't want to win, I'm telling you they're lying. That's just my personal opinion. Because it does. We all want that. We all want to be recognized that way. But it truly was an honor to get that far and to do that. And I wasn't saddened by it at all. I was very grateful to be in that company and to be able to perform and to be chosen as one of the performers for it, because not everybody that was even nominated got to perform, and to be selected to perform there was, it was huge.
Of course, definitely. Well, thank you for that one. I'm going to make you switch gears a little bit again. And again, a lot of this is backtracking, but people sometimes haven't heard this. Your first CD, of course, was entitled It's All Country, and that happened to reach number 11 on the iTunes new release chart. Since your ballads have bounced all over the charts, and obviously, of course, case in point, like say, for instance, I know you were recently on the top 40 chart for the V Radio Nashville, and of course, number 13 on the Independent Music Network charts. So, is it a regular occurrence now? First of all, do you watch your own numbers? I know, obviously, of course, that you have a manager, et cetera, but do you personally watch to see where you are? Does that matter to you?
Yeah, I do watch. I do watch where it's at. Does it matter to me? That's a weird that's a weird question. It matters to me. Well, it's kind of like the award show. It doesn't break my heart if I don't make it.
Right.
It doesn't break my heart if I don't make that, one of the lists or something. But it matters because I want to make, I'm doing everything that I can to promote my music, myself, and to, and to make a living at this. I'm just being 100% candid. I don't know how else to answer that. We're trying to make a living doing this and trying to make it. And in order to make it in this industry, in order to really get there, it's got to do well on the charts. And people have to enjoy the music. If they don't enjoy it, I'm doing something wrong. It matters. Yes, it matters to me. Am I broken up by it and sitting in the corner crying myself to sleep at night? No, not at all. Yeah, it matters. And I do watch it. I do watch those things. V Radio. I check that all the time, and I'm there again. I'm friends with all those guys that are on there, and people that are making the list. It's awesome, and the IMW, the other charts, I watch those every week. I have to tell you, I go on every week and I vote for myself. I do.
He's being really good.
I don't know how else to answer that. I'm being as candid as I can. I vote for myself. I get one vote like everybody else. I get one vote. I'm not going to vote for somebody else. That's not to say that I know the choice of. Yeah, it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy those other artists, but I watch those things, and
of course.
And again, I ask, and that's one of the things you'll notice. I ask for people's votes. I ask them, but I don't want people voting for me for just because they know my name or just because I'm friends with them on Facebook. I want them voting because they do enjoy the music. I got a Facebook message. I got a Facebook message yesterday after the numbers came out on that, and I hit number 13 on the charts there just the other day, and I got a Facebook message from a friend of mine that I've known her for probably 18, 19 years. Good friends of ours in Alaska, and I've known her for a long, long time. And she messaged me on Facebook, and she says, "Hey," she says, "I've always been a fan of your singing. You know, I've heard you singing in the past." She says, "But I have to be honest." She says, "I have to be honest. I haven't listened to your music at all in the past like 3 years. I haven't even listened to you in 3 years." She said, "But she said I just listened to your music." She said, "I just went to your page and I just listened to your music." She says, "Oh my gosh, that was awesome." And it was fun to be able to hear that from her, and an affirmation that we're doing some things right. But it meant a lot to me that she voted for me because she actually liked what I was doing, not just because she knew who I was. And she said, it's the first. She did say it's the first time that she had been online to vote. So I watch those things and they do matter.
Well, that lends itself to the bigger question, which was this, obviously, that particular number and the way that those numbers work as far as the music industry. Does that determine your popularity within the media venue, or would you find yourself saying, "You know what, I'd rather still less about the numbers and more about fan appeal and popularity"? I don't know how to differentiate the two. I think the fan numbers. I think the fan numbers come. I think people vote because they do like the music, and so that's a reflection of whether, to me, it's a reflection of is being accepted and is being enjoyed. I hope that people are not just voting because they know my name. I'm hoping they're voting because, hey, they know my name and they like what I'm doing. Are the numbers really that important in the overall thing, in the overall scheme of things? This industry, again, I have to remind people, and I have to remind myself, this is a business. It is absolutely a business. Now there are a lot of people who make music because they love music and they don't care about anything. They just want to make music. But a musician is trying to make a living. A musician is trying to achieve what I'm trying to do. The fans are very, very, very important. The numbers are extremely important because if I don't have the numbers, if I don't have the fans, and people are not liking what I'm doing, my music is never going to be recognized. It's never going to be recognized. That's unfortunately the reality. Gotcha.
You have to have behind you. You have to have, and that's represented by the numbers. So the numbers do matter, and that's why I watch the charts, because I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can as an artist and working my tail off and doing the best job that I possibly can for my fans. Because if I keep my fans happy, if I keep the people happy, it's going to help my career. And so it's a two-way thing. I want to keep them as happy as I can, but in doing so, I recognize that will help my career, not hurt it.
Of course, makes sense. Now, I want to kind of mention this to fans, of course. Now, added acceptance by one's own country speaks of its success, or in this case, your success. And I know that you've been asked to sing the national anthem and the Alaska state flag and identify. So tell us a little bit about that, and are we able to catch that, even though it's in Alaska, of course? Are we able to watch this performance? When is this going to happen? How did this happen?
Well, the performance of the Iditarod comes around every year, very beginning of March. And this year's Iditarod was one of the most spectacular Iditarods in history. It was a phenomenal race this year. But I sang the national anthem and the Alaska State Flag song for the 2013 start of the Iditarod, and it's just a phenomenal event. You know, there's 30,000 people out on the street. It's all over the world. So yeah, it was definitely televised and put on TV at that time. I don't know that it can still be seen or not, other than I think I might have it up on my YouTube channel. This year I got a email from the race coordinator, the coordinator of the Iditarod, that says, "Hey Doug, we loved what you did last year. Would you be willing to come back and sing the national anthem, the Alaska State Flag song again?" And I emailed him back. I said, Carl, I'd love to. I said, but there is something that you need to know. I'm in Nashville now, not in Alaska. I said, but if you all would pay my way back there to sing, I'd be honored to do that. And he came back with a very generous offer. He says, you know, I'd love to do that. He says, and I would do it in a heartbeat. He says, but and Alaska was where we've been getting a lot of cold snow weather. Alaska was not getting that at the beginning of March, and they had a lot of bare ground, which was one of the things that made the race so difficult this year. They were looking at moving the start from Willow, Alaska, up to Fairbanks, and which would have cost millions of dollars. And so they had to see all skinny spinning at that point. I'd love to do that because we didn't do it. But so he's got my name number, he's got all my information, and we're friends on Facebook and whatnot. So maybe next year I'll be able to do that again.
And now, of course, another thing that fans may not know is you're in the Independent Country Musician newsletter, which I know has featured you, and of course, again, if people want to get a copy of that or check that out, can they do that online, or do they have to get that directly?
I think they can get, to my knowledge, they can get that online. They sure can. They can go to ICMAnet.com, ICMAnet.com, and I believe they can get that newsletter there. I do not believe that they have to be a member of the ICMA in order to get that newsletter.
Okay,
and I will have to double check. I will have to double check with Al to make sure I'm correct in that. But to my knowledge, they do not have to be a member to look at the newsletter.
Okay. Now, before we get to the final thing, which is talking, of course, about Super Country Cowboy, I wanted to ask this because I did not know this last time around, but apparently there is an actual country buckle that's been designed for you. You can actually get a belt buckle that's been designed for Doug Briney. So how the heck did that happen? Because I don't think that was going on before, or was it? And I just didn't know.
You know, Exotic Stainless Steel Buckles is one of my sponsors. They are endorsers. I should not necessarily sponsor, but an endorser of my music. They're no longer in Alaska. They were in Alaska for years, and they haven't been there for a number of years now. But with that connection, Alaska connection, the gentleman's name is Bill. Bill and I talked on the phone, and he said, yeah, I'd love to do this for you. And so we kind of designed a belt buckle. It says the Alaska Cowboy, and it's got a picture of Moose on there, and it's the only place that you can get it is through my website. That's it.
Exactly.
You can order it if you're in it. Yeah, if you are in if you're at one of my concerts, whatever, I can get that to you there as well. Or I don't have them on hand. They're custom built, and they're really a nice belt buckle. They're very, very durable. They're made of stainless steel. They come with a lifetime warranty on them, and they're a great belt buckle. And so yeah, it is something that we carry through the website, and if folks want those at the concerts, I can get that order for them and get that turned into Bill, and he'll make it and inscribe it. He inscribes the back with your name and date that the belt buckle is built for you, and he mails it right to your door.
Wonderful, absolutely. So now I say the best or last, which is of course Super Country Cowboy, which is your newest collection of country that Doug is offering. It's blended with the same bold blessings, I would say, that Doug is best at providing. So now, relative to this CD, did you yourself notice changes as far as the methodology for producing this, as far as are the sounds similar? Has the message changed? What have you shaken up, or shaken about, I should say, since the last CD? How does this one differentiate?
Well, first of all, the songs on the first CD, most of those songs were written by Pat Kelly, and then I did 4 cover songs on there. 6 of the songs on the first CD were written by Pat Kelly and co-written by Pat Kelly.
Right.
There were several co-writers in with that as well, Donna Oper, Ed Levitt, Bucky Jones, and then I self-produced that first CD. I mean, meaning everything from the artwork to the layout, everything on there, and it was a totally different process. I had everything on that album done, including going into the studio, getting the masters done, getting everything done, sending it into CD Baby for production. Everything was done in a matter of probably 4 weeks maybe, and 4 weeks I had the project done. Super Country Cowboy, we spent close to a year looking at music. It was from September to January. I guess it wasn't quite a year, but from September to January, we spent looking at music and looking, I guess is not the right word, listening to music for this project and doing that. We didn't look at it very much. We listened to it. Well, we listened to that music and made the selection. We actually selected 10 songs for the CD, and we got those all selected in January. I signed the record deal with Tate Music Group. I sent them all the chord charts and the timing and the kind of the rough demos of how I wanted the songs to be done, instrumentation and that type of thing. The executive producer, Don Johnson, did a fantastic job producing the tracks and getting that done for me. Those were sent to me about 2 weeks before I flew down to Oklahoma and recorded there in their studios there in the Mustang. Flew back to Alaska. About 3-4 weeks later, the background vocals were finished, and I got a rough demo of how the album was going to sound. It wasn't final mastered. We sent it back and had a couple things tweaked. Michael wanted more drums, a little more snare, snap to the snare, and a little bit more, just a little tweaking of the sound. And so that was sent back, and we got that taken care of. The music was mastered. Then I went to the art department, and they did all the artwork and the photography. It had been done when I was in Oklahoma. They put all that together, and then in November we released it. Sound-wise, so it was a very different project from January to November is what it took to get that done. But it was a phenomenal experience working with a whole team helping you as opposed to you doing it all yourself. It was a great experience. They were a great company to work with. I'd love to work with them some more, and I think we have a great relationship with them.
Of course.
Songs on there, the sound is, we were looking more for, we wanted to stay very true to the traditional sounds of who I am. I'm more of a traditional sounding artist, but we also wanted songs with a little bit more of an edge for radio, more radio friendly. There again, what more people are listening to.
Right.
And I think we did a great job with that. When we got everything back from after being down the recording, getting the masters done and everything done, one of the songs that we had on there, it just didn't fit the album. It just didn't. It was a good song. The take was good. Everything was right, but it didn't fit the album, and it wasn't a good mesh. And we ended up pulling that one from the album. We may do that one at a later time because it is a great song, but it just didn't fit with the album. We wanted to keep that, we wanted to keep. We just had a certain feel to the album, and I think it comes across very well.
Yes. In fact, I was just going to say, you're going to get your 3.5 minutes to rest here because we're going to play the song, and then everybody can hear it and see how wonderful it is. So let's do that, and you can take a break, and I'll take a break for a second, and then we'll commence back again for a little bit here. So this is Super Country Cowboy.
Jones, Haggard and Buckoons, Mama like the Eagles and the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. When I was just a little kid, I became a hybrid, super country, evangelic, rockabilly, psychedelic cowboy. There's a new branch on the family tree, and it all starts right here with me. I'm a super country, evangelic, rockabilly, psychedelic cowboy. I'm a Christian shouting, achy, breaky, bust a move on you right now, boy. Get up out of your seat, there's a new branch on the family tree. It all starts right here with me. Never sang hound dog, they said it was the devil's tongue. They censored him on Sullivan, now he's loved by everyone. There's an FM evolution, country music revolution, LP, CD, ripped from your MP3, boy. There's a new branch on the family tree. It all starts right here with me. I'm a super country, evangelic, rockabilly, psychedelic cowboy. I'm a Christian shouting, achy, breaky, bust a move on you right now, boy. Get up out of your seat, there's a new branch on the family tree. It all starts right here with me. There's a new branch on the family tree. It all starts right here with me. I'm a super country, evangelic, rockabilly, psychedelic cowboy. I'm a twisted, shouting, achy, breaky, bust a move on you right now, boy. Super country, evangelic, rockabilly, psychedelic cowboy. Get up out of your seat.
Wow. You don't want to play that a second time, and then I'll cut you off there. I got to say this much. I totally could see that on Nashville. That's totally kind of like the music they have on Nashville, if you've noticed that, because when I watched each week, the music is very good that they compose. But that's awesome. I mean, the sound, I like the sound. I think it's different than the sounds from the other CD, and that's just my personal opinion. But I do, and I think this is bold and it's fresh, and I think it's new, and the sound is very different. And I like it, definitely. Now, I want to mention something because I almost forgot about this. Your upcoming events, I know that you're going back to Uncommon Grounds, which is the coffee shop, and that's on April 15th. I also know in June that you're going to be at the Hard Rock Cafe because you're doing the Tammy Wynette tribute. Are you playing any place else prior to April 15th, that is?
Prior to April 15th. Off the top of my head, let's see. I'll be playing next Monday. I'll be up in Kentucky. I've got that on my webpage. I'll be in Kentucky next Monday night, actually doing a radio show there in studio radio show, and be doing some songs there in the studio.
Okay.
And doing some of that. That'll be live there. Wednesday, the following Wednesday, then I'll be over at the Doghouse here in Nashville. Big Benny and the Trailer Choir and, plays every Wednesday evening over there, and I've been invited to come over there and sing one or two songs with them late that evening. So I'll be going there as well. It's not really a full gig for me. It's just, sharing a couple songs, but been invited to come over and play with them there as well. Other than that, my brain is I don't. Without my calendar right in front of me, I'm kind of at a loss. I think the next big event will be April 5 at Uncommon Grounds as well. There's an open mic night, and my friend Randy Gabbard is going to be hosting that open mic night. But I will be singing probably during the sign-up period. While everybody is arriving, I'll be doing a half-hour show there that night. While everybody else is arriving and signing up for that, I'll be kind of doing it and then turning that over to Randy to host that evening. I'm trying to think. I've got several dates up on the calendar, and I don't have that in front of me right now. So I apologize. There again. That's twice she caught me, Cindy. That's twice she got me, Cindy, without a good answer.
Well, I do this for a living, so of course I have to be on my A game all the time. So at least I try to be in touch. And before I forget, Doug has a Facebook page, Doug Briney Jr. You can find him on there. That's him himself. Just as on Twitter, which is @DougBriney. His music can be found on both YouTube and iTunes and www.dougbriney.com. Did I forget anything? This one you should be able to answer. Any other place to find you social media?
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Reverb Nation on Facebook. We even have a MySpace page out there. I don't know that I don't think I've done anything with that for quite a while, but it is there. But the big ones are Twitter, Reverb Nation, and Facebook, and all of those links are directly from the webpage, and I do keep that up to date.
Yes, of course. Now, the last thing before I forget, which should be the most obvious, which I guess I should put a plug in for, is Mr. Doug Briney is actually also in my book, which just came out a few months ago. So he's actually in a book. So this makes him a superstar, of course, because anybody in my book is, of course, a celebrity. It's in Celebrity Chat. And, in fact, Mr. Michael Silver and I are trying to plan something to where you and I can be in the same place at the same time, and I can do a live interview of you, and then I can actually do my book signing with you. And I thought that would be an absolutely wonderful event for the both of us, if we can coordinate our schedules properly.
I would love to do that. I mean, if you're getting all the way up into Canada, we can meet someplace here in the middle, Indiana, Iowa. I don't know, but that doesn't sound like it. I think we should meet someplace like Hawaii or someplace like that. I think that would be a better place
does sound wonderful,
to do a book signing.
Well, I think
doesn't that sound like a better book signing?
Well, it kind of does. But see, since you're relevant to country, I think since you're relevant to country, and because my dear friends, some of my dearest friends live in Tennessee, so my guess is you will luck out and I will come directly to Nashville. It's finding a venue. We have to find a venue, of course, and I, of course, want you to play, and, of course, my other friends to play. It'll be like one big, nice open jam. We can have a nice big interview, do a nice big open jam, book signing. It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. I would love to do that. I've been trying to get to doing it, and it's been challenging. I have my son, so my son has been my priority. It's been very hard to try to travel. So we're hoping that this is going to be able to happen. But I probably won't get to you until probably May. That's my guess. I have to do California. So we're looking at May.
Well,
yeah.
May is not that far off. It really isn't. I can't believe we're already over 2/3 of the way through with March. It's like, wow.
I know, right? I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? Yes, I know. I find it amazing myself, too. And it's just like the days and the times go back. But I thought to myself, yes. So everybody should know that, of course, that you're this big celebrity in the book. And I can't wait to meet you in person. I can't wait to see you in person and get a chance to actually thank you for participating in this, because I can't tell you folks enough how much I admire and respect this person. First and foremost, because he's a wonderful father and a wonderful husband. Second of all, because he has been a wonderful sermonizer. And third of all, he brings his message and his sound to everybody, and he's so humble and so loving and so wonderful. And I'm always so excited when you come, Doug. So the next time I want to interview you, it will be live. It will be in person.
Well,
I promise.
That will be awesome, and I look forward to it.
Oh, definitely so. And don't be a stranger, of course, like I said. Michael and I, you will all stay in communication. We'll get something worked out. And thank you for taking all this time to come on the show today. I truly, truly appreciate it. And I don't want to forget, of course, to mention Mr. Michael Stover. You know, one of these days we have to get Michael to come to do something because I've never met him. I mean, we've been working together now for 2 years, and he's in the book, too. So I think maybe we should all get together at the same time. I would hope you would push him on this. Please, please, please do so.
You know, I've been blessed now. I've been able to meet him in person twice now, and you know, we've worked together for a couple of years myself. You know, we've worked together, and I got to meet him at the CMAs this year, and then at the Nashville Universe Award Show, he was able to be there as well. Of course, he won Manager of the Year, and he does a phenomenal job. So he really does, and I'm so grateful to have him in my corner. That's for sure.
You are. You're very fortunate, of course. Just as we are fortunate, because without you guys and the talent that you possess, I wouldn't have a show and I'd have no one to talk to, and he'd have no one to promote. So thank you so much from both of us to you, of course. Thank you so much to Michael, and thank you for taking the time. And I will be in touch. Like I said, I'll check my schedule, see if we can coordinate something, and I would be more than happy to see you in person. I can't wait. It'll be wonderful. And in the meantime, make sure everybody goes out, and I'll make sure everybody hears all your information and links after you get off the line, and please stay in touch, my dear.
I will do that. Thank you so much, Cindy, and you have a good day.
Oh, you too, dear. Take care. Okay, folks. Mr. Doug Briney Jr., one more reminder to you. He has a personal Facebook page, Douglas Briney Jr., Twitter, which is @Doug Briney, all put together. He is on YouTube, iTunes, Reverb Nation, and www.dougbriney.com. So once again, my thanks, big thanks to Doug as always, big thanks to Michael as always. Tomorrow on the show, we are re-premiering, finally, my son's Spotlight Biker Show. And who better to start it off but my sister, Janelle. She's going to be coming on tomorrow, and we're going to be discussing a plethora of things. She has a fundraiser that's coming up, and so we're going to be discussing the fundraiser. We're going to be discussing her. We're going to be discussing everything new and interesting about the biker community in Florida. So please join us tomorrow on Sun Spotlight. I'll be posting all that information on my personal page. And then, of course, on Friday, we'll be featuring on Sin's Canadian Connections, none other than the musician Claude Kent. And, again, I'll be posting his information. So all of you, thanks so much for listening in. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll chat tomorrow.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. By singing dog. By goal.
I pronounce you.
By wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really? Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. By singing dog. By goal.
I pronounce you.
By wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really? Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.